Hi, everyone. Good evening. I am going to get started here. To begin, I am going to introduce myself. My name is Shannon. I am an admissions counselor at MSU. So I am no longer a student, but I once was. I am originally from Missoula, Montana, and I have been in this role for about 3 years now. So I might be a friendly face for many of you. I am the one who visits a lot of high schools. I do a lot of college visits. I am the folks that meet with you when you're here on campus. We obviously would love to welcome you to campus right now, but unfortunately cannot. And so instead, we're going to have some of our current students talk to you guys a little bit about their experience. And I did want to preface this evening by saying we really want this webinar and this evening to be focused around the student experience. We are closely monitoring the COVID-19 outbreak, and we understand that there are many questions surrounding the outbreak and how that might affect some of our incoming classes and years to come. I am going to start this evening by giving a few quick updates about the COVID-19 outbreak and how we're responding at MSU, and then I'm going to turn it over to our students because, as I said, we really want this to be about the student experience. So quickly, for our seniors on the line, I did want to note that we have transitioned our orientation to an online program. We will no longer be hosting our in-person program on campus. There is no need to re-register. Those that have already registered will automatically be moved over, and we will be managing refunds appropriately and as necessary. So there is a lot more information on the orientation website, and then we did just send out a few emails in the last few days as well. For some of those seniors on the line, I know there are a lot of questions about moving forward with fall 2020, and we are moving forward and hopeful as of now that we will begin to open in the fall. Our first day of classes is still scheduled for Monday, August 31st. With that being said, we are of course managing many contingency plans, but we are hopeful and as of now moving forward with that August 31st start date. For some of our juniors on the line and some of our seniors, we understand that there have been a lot of cancellation and postponements of the ACT and SAT exams. For our seniors, we have extended the date in which you can send us new test scores. So we will be accepting new test scores throughout the summer. And for some of our juniors, we still encourage you to apply early. We understand that some of you might not have a standardized test score to report in the fall, but we encourage you to apply and then send us that test score once you have taken the exam. And then we do also have some more information about transfer credits online. We are still accepting any AP, IB, or dual credit courses as well, even though some of those exams have also been modified. So those are just some very quick updates. I do want to mention though, on the screen, we have our site and we have our contact information. Please feel free to contact us with any of those questions, and we encourage you to tune in for some of our virtual visits. We are hosting visits regularly for our seniors, for our juniors, and then we are also hosting one-on-one admissions calls. So if you would like to talk to me or any of the other admissions counselors personally, we are really happy to do that for you as well. At this time, I am going to have our students introduce themselves. As I mentioned, we really want this evening to be focused around the student experience. And so I am going to start by having Becca introduce herself. And Becca, if you're on the line and you want to jump right in, we'll do so.
Hi, guys. It's Becca. I'm a senior studying cell biology and neuroscience. I am an in-state student. My hometown is Butte, Montana, which is about an hour and 15 minutes from Bozeman. On campus, I'm involved in a wide variety of things. I am a student rep for the admissions office. I'm an office aide for the admissions office. I was an orientation leader for 2 years. I'm a member of Alpha Omicron Pi, and I engage in undergraduate research. So pretty well versed on the student experience over the course of my past 4 years. So yeah, feel free to ask us any questions about any of those clubs, ways to get involved, classes, all that good stuff.
All right, great. At this time, we are going to move forward and we are going to have Spencer introduce himself. Spencer, if you're on the line.
Perfect. Hopefully everyone can hear me. What's up, guys? So my name is Spencer Johnson. I'm also a senior like Becca and Megan. I hail from Kalispell, Montana. So it's about 5 hours northwest of Bozeman. If you've been to Glacier Park, you probably went through Kalispell at some point. So like Becca, I'm also an in-state student. It was tough to get me to leave Montana. I'm a senior in chemical engineering, and I'm also in the Honors College. So if you have any questions about that kind of stuff, shoot them at me. On campus, I'm really involved in the admissions office. So I'm a student tour guide, so I'm very good at walking backwards. And so much so that I guess they put me as the advocate student coordinator. So I've given lots of walking backwards tours over my days. I also am in a college of an engineering ambassador. So I get to meet with people like some of the advisory councils and just represent the College of Engineering student body on different panels, which has been really cool. I got to do my little princess wave thing as a homecoming ambassador this fall, which was really fun. And then I also was a part of some of the Residence Hall Association stuff when I was a freshman in South Hedges. So you can see kind of some of the things that I like to do on the side there. But at the end of the day, it's been such a fun time being a Bobcat, whether it's me going outside to Bridger or Big Sky skiing or just having an awesome education here. I've really enjoyed it. So I'm pretty bummed that it's going to be done here in about a month.
Awesome. Thank you, Spencer. And then Megan, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi guys, I'm Megan. I'm also a senior. I'm originally from Colorado, so I'm out of state, coming from a suburb of Denver. I'm getting my degree in elementary education, but I actually started out as a pre-med student, so I can definitely touch on switching majors and having life crisis and changing from pre-med to elementary education. I am pretty involved on campus just like the other two. I give tours. I am an admissions counselor in the admissions office. I'm in the Chi Omega sorority. I play on our club soccer team, and I'm a part of an organization called Dance Marathon where we raise money for a local hospital. And I really love Montana. Being from out of state, it's been a wonderful experience, and I don't know if I'm ever going to leave. So
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. At this time, we are going to encourage you guys to start chatting in those questions, and I'm going to start throwing them at our students. To begin, we are going to ask you guys, how did you enjoy living on campus? Where did you live? What was it like if you requested a roommate or if you were randomly matched with a roommate? Spencer, you talked a little bit about your RHA experience, so if you don't mind starting, we would love it.
Yeah, sure. So I coming from Kalispell or just really any town in Montana, we obviously have a decent amount of students that come to school at MSU. So I had quite a few friends that were coming, and I ended up coming to MSU having a room in South Hedges, which is one of the larger co-ed residence halls on campus. I had a roommate and everything, and we ended up going to the same orientation, so it was fun to kind of meet each other before we got on campus to live together. And as we were going through the orientation process, we ended up seeing that there was a room option called a loft room in South Hedges, which was 5 people, which is kind of crazy now that I think about it. And so I ended up kind of finding 2 friends from back home, my roommate that I was assigned, who was from South Dakota, and then we ended up getting a random roommate from Oregon, and it ended up being an awesome experience. We're still all living together, actually, so we didn't want to like kill each other at the end of the year process, and we're still great friends. So I personally walked through like no problem with the whole living on campus. It's awesome to have so many people nearby. And as you're going through the application process, my like personal tip is just really think about what you're into, what your interest areas are. But at the end of the day, there are some awesome residence halls in whichever one you end up in, you're going to really enjoy.
Megan or Becca, do you have anything that you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, I can definitely speak to living on campus. I actually lived on campus 2 different times. So as a freshman student, obviously, I actually lived in one of our single gender dorms. I lived in Hafner Hall with a girl that I had met in high school, also from Montana. So I didn't do random matching. I just chose to live with that person. And honestly, it was an amazing experience. Like, I really liked living in Hafner, a lot of room, a lot of space, a lot of like personal storage. So I could fit all of my items in there. And just the convenience of like being able to get out of bed like 10 minutes before class and ride your bike across campus. That's like something I miss living off campus. And then I actually, the summer after my sophomore year, I ended up living in one of our upperclassmen dorms for the summer while I was doing undergrad research. I lived in Gallatin Hall, and that is just like such a beautiful facility. The rooms are really cool because you kind of have like a general common area and then a shared bathroom amongst 3 rooms. So you have your own room, but you kind of share like the common spaces with a few other people. And then they have the communal kitchen and all of that. And that was a super awesome experience as well. So honestly, like Spencer said, any facility you choose to live on campus in, definitely just consider what is going to be best for you, whether that's a more sociable environment or maybe a quieter dorm, because that first year, I think it really helps you acclimate really well living in the residence halls.
All right, great. I am going to jump into our next question. Have any of you ever worked on campus, and how did you find on-campus employment? I'm actually going to start by making Becca answer this one because she works in our office, so I know she's worked on campus, and then you guys can jump in afterwards.
Yeah, so I've worked on campus since 2017. August of 2017 is when I started working as an office aide and in the admissions office. It was actually kind of funny. I found that job through being an orientation leader, and then kind of to the class, they advertised that there was going to be this position opening up in the office, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I love like being an orientation leader, engaging with current students as well as prospective students and their families. So I thought it'd be a really good fit for me. And just working on campus again, kind of getting back to like the convenience, being able to like go to a shift and go cover lunch like in between classes, or pick up a shift like during the week is really nice. And the thing too that I've noticed, especially with on-campus employment in comparison to like off-campus, because I've had a job off-campus as well, is that everyone that you're working with understands that you're a student. They understand that you may have to prioritize like a big exam that's upcoming or a paper or something like that. So they're very understanding about scheduling and all that stuff. So definitely, if you have the opportunity to work on campus, it's a great way to get connected with your peers as well as like mentors. And then honestly, after having that office aide job, I think that really lent itself into me becoming a student rep in the admissions office.
Do either of you guys want to jump in, Megan or Spencer? Anything else you'd like to add?
I can talk a little bit. So like Becca and Megan, I'm also a student admissions rep, so I make a little bit of money from that. But my freshman and sophomore year, I was involved as a paid research assistant in 2 different research labs. And I know Becca is also really involved in research, and she might be able to talk a little bit more about it. But so my freshman and sophomore year, I was able to find a position that I did get to make a little bit of money. And so I think that's another option for you. That's my personal experience, but I have quite a few friends that have gone through the Hire a Bobcat system. And so it's kind of like this online platform where they have a lot of the campus jobs that you can have a quick little search engine for. So I'd say it's really easy if you want to find a campus or a job on campus, kind of like Becca talked about, for the purpose of convenience. There's lots of resources for you.
Awesome. We are going to jump into our next question. It asks, how easy is it to balance social life and academics, and how did you strike that balance? And I am going to throw this one at Megan Pepper because she is extremely involved, and I think she would have some great insight.
Yes, I am a very busy person, and I like it that way. The transition for me from high school and balancing it all into college was actually not too difficult because I also kept myself really busy in high school. But I would definitely make sure you prioritize why you're at Montana State and you're here to get an education and you're here to go to class and study and take those steps to getting a career. So remember that. Also, though, the weekends are a great time for me. That's when I have my social time and my free time. During the week, I try and get all of my homework done, all my test projects, everything like that done during the week. So on the weekend, I have time to go skiing and hiking with my friends, and I can enjoy myself and not be stressed about something that's due Monday. And I know that's hard at the beginning to not procrastinate everything until Sunday night. And I definitely learned that lesson the hard way. I spent a lot of late nights in the library. So you might have to learn the lesson the hard way, but take my advice and don't do that. Definitely make a schedule for yourself, make it work. Put in breaks when you're studying too. That'll help. Don't sit and study for 8 hours at a time. You're not going to retain anything.
Awesome. Spencer, Becca, do you have anything to add there about how you balance social life and academics?
I think Megan hit on it pretty good. I think college is that first time when you have a lot of the responsibility in your life and you don't have mom and dad like telling you what to do and where to go at all times of the day, although my parents try pretty hard with me. Um, so I think it's kind of a good thing to kind of learn that skill of you're not in class all day. You might have 1 or 2 classes throughout the day, but you have to manage, okay, am I going to go to the gym? Am I going to eat? I have a test in a couple of days. I should study for that. But I also really want to go skiing. So I think you kind of find that balance yourself. Everyone has their little point. I know for me, I stress if I don't get things done, so I try my best to get them done early. So that'd be my tip, but yeah.
Awesome. Okay, I did also want to make an announcement. We ask that you guys chat into our general audience. So when you're chatting, there's a drop down arrow and you can chat to all attendees. That kind of helps us because you guys are chatting in the same question. So we can answer those to everyone if you do that. So we recommend chatting into all attendees. Thank you. Kind of moving on to our next question. We get this question frequently. How do you guys like the weather? What is it like? What do you do all 4 seasons and how do you manage it? So Spencer, do you want to start as someone who's maybe from Montana and then Megan can kind of follow up?
Yeah, so believe it or not, it's kind of chilly here a couple of the months. And yeah, coming from Montana, that's kind of what I like. My job is taking me to Southern California after graduation, and so I don't know what I'm going to do without snow during a good chunk of the year. But the other thing I love about Montana is we have all 4 seasons, and right now it's actually really nice here, so you can like ride your bike, go on a run. It's definitely too cold for swimming as of right now, but we're hoping that changes relatively quickly. But I think personally, I don't think it's that bad. I think you can get through it. The snow is pretty, and also like we have lots of great outdoors in the winter here. But the summer and like fall, those when you got football coming in the fall and summer, you got all the lakes and mountains to go hiking and swimming, all that kind of stuff. You can't really beat it. So it's one of the awesome reasons why Montana is great. Why Bozeman is an awesome place to be. Yeah, I like to put a bow on it. It can get cold. You'll be fine.
I definitely agree with Spencer. Coming from Colorado, I'm used to cold weather, I'm used to snow, but I'm also used to a lot of sunshine. Colorado is a very, very sunny state. And I was a little worried about that because I was like, oh, it's more north. There's not going to be as much sun, but I've not been let down. There's definitely still sunshine up here. And even when it is cold and it's snowing, the sun will come out and it'll just brighten your day. And so I definitely haven't had an issue with it. I love the snow, and so it doesn't make me sad that it's cold and snowy. And the summers are gorgeous. Last summer was the first time I spent the summer in Montana, and I absolutely loved it. It doesn't get too hot, so you don't feel like you're sweating too much and dying of heat, but it's still warm enough that you can go sit and go paddleboarding in the lake or floating down the river, fly fishing, and it's not freezing. So it does get warm in the summer, and they're beautiful. I definitely bring a big coat and big snow boots though, because it does get snowy in the winter and classes still happen. So you have to go to class even in the snow.
All right. Oop. Sweet. All right. Moving on to our next question. Some of you mentioned being in a sorority. So there was a question about what Greek life is like on campus. How do you join and how do you go about that process? Do you maybe want to start, Becca, and then Megan can jump in?
Yeah, definitely. I kind of have a unique experience being in a sorority because I actually, for my freshman year, I wasn't in a sorority. So I think that really kind of showed me what it's like to be a student at MSU and not be in a sorority. And then I joined my sophomore year. And so kind of going through that first year, it was really interesting to me because I was meeting a bunch of people that were in Greek life. A lot of the other orientation leaders were in sororities or fraternities, stuff like that. So that got me really excited about potentially being in that organization, having people that were so motivated academically as well as just like in their extracurricular activities. So the way that formal sorority recruitment goes, kind of the past couple of years, we've had it the weekend right before school begins. So you come on like Friday. It's honestly very laid back in comparison to a lot of other universities, just because we are a smaller set of sororities and fraternities. We have seven fraternities and 5 sororities now. So pretty small, close-knit community. And that's what kind of attracted me to our Greek life, is because it's not big like a lot of other schools that you might think of or see in the media, that sort of stuff. And so the recruitment process for sororities anyways is Friday through Sunday. You get to meet with all of the sororities, so it's a very comprehensive experience. You get to speak with members from every single house and kind of see who kind of aligns with your interests, your values, all those sort of things, which is really great. Yeah, honestly, it's been an awesome experience for me. I, coming from Montana, did not think I'd ever join a sorority, but it's been one of the best parts probably about being at MSU.
So I think Becca touched on a lot of wonderful things about sorority and fraternity life. I'll just tell you why I joined it. Coming from out of state, I had no family here. I knew absolutely no one in the entire state of Montana. I was coming up here by myself, and that's a pretty scary thing to do. And I wanted to find a support system and something I could lean on when things got hard, because the transition to college is hard and college itself is hard. And I wanted people there that would be able to support me and bring me up and help me through those times. And that's why I joined a sorority, and I found that support system as well as so much more. And I know that sounds so cliche to be like, oh, I found my home, but I really did. I found people that have brought me up from my lowest of lows and supported me in my highs of highs. And so that's why I did it, was to find those people that could be that for me in Montana.
All right, moving into our next question, we are getting loads of questions about the Honors College, what it is like, how do you join, what are the benefits of it? So maybe Spencer, do you want to kick it off and talk a little bit about your experience?
Yeah, of course. So I started in honors from my first day on campus, and it's not like any means a requirement, but it's definitely the, I would say, easiest path in order to have the best chance of getting exactly what you want out of the Honors College. So I applied, I believe I used my presidential scholarship application as my Honors College application. It's kind of like a kill 2 birds with 1 stone situation. Got in. It's a pretty holistic process, though. If you're not like top of the line, like don't worry. It definitely takes into account a lot of the things that you're involved with. And then from the get-go, when you're in your freshman seminar called Texts and Critics, to some of the honors classes and seminars that I've gotten to take part in, it's just been a neat experience to be among people who are really motivated and really interested in learning, not so much just within their discipline, but also caring about how all those disciplines kind of mesh together. And then some of just the speakers and events that I've gotten to go to through the Honors College have been a pretty neat experience. So I'm really happy to have been in it. I know that it's benefited me in some of the connections that I've been able to make. And so if it's something you're interested, I highly recommend trying it out, at least for your first semester or 2.
Awesome. Megan or Becca, do you want to add anything about things you've heard or friends' experiences or anything that you want to add there?
Yeah, I started in the Honors College at MSU. So I was in the Honors College for freshman and sophomore year, and then just kind of moving forward throughout like my degree program and all that sort of stuff, I decided to stay involved in other things. But honestly, my experience with the Honors College for those 2 years was an awesome one. Text and Critics still to this day is like one of my favorite classes that I've taken. My professors from Text and Critics wrote me letters of recommendation that got me into my scholarship program that I'm in now. And I was involved in like some of the freshman programming that they offer. So I went on Hike and Read, where that you go up to Highlight Canyon, you get to hike 15 miles to the peak and see just a beautiful Bozeman area, as well as meet a lot of the professors in honors, a lot of the other students. And then I also did the freshman research symposium, which is just like 2 Saturdays full of professors coming and speaking to you about their research, how you can get involved in it, kind of opening up the doors to go on lab tours or come see the work that they do. And I think that really just got me excited about undergrad research, all the opportunities at MSU. And honestly, as an honors student, those are just things that are kind of at your fingertips, and they make it very easily accessible for you. So even if you're just thinking about it and kind of apprehensive, like Spencer said, I would just try it out, even if for a semester that first year.
Great. So kind of moving into a topic that you actually just mentioned, Becca, we are getting a lot of questions about research and how students get involved in research and what that looks like. I have actually heard Becca present on some of her research, so I'm going to make her start. I think she's done some really awesome things, and then maybe Spencer, if you want to jump in afterwards.
Yeah, so the scholarship program that I'm in is called the Mcnair Scholars Program. And pretty much it's one of the kind of bigger programs. So we do have a couple of different programs. Spencer's in a different program that facilitates research. But with Mcnair, it pretty much helps you find a mentor for research that you're interested in your field, matches you up, and then you and the professor come up with a project, come up with a gap maybe in their research that you can kind of pursue, working in a lab or working on, like, I know students have done amazing like history research and all of that sort of stuff. So that started in January of my sophomore year. So I'd kind of gone through freshman year and then got into that program in January. And the nice thing about Mcnair too, it's specifically for underrepresented students in graduate school. So if you're like first gen, low income, or like an underrepresented ethnic group in those fields, you kind of, that's specifically what Mcnair is for. So the end goal is to get you into a graduate program. So if that's something that you're even considering right now, I would definitely look into Mcnair. And we have students from every single academic discipline. Like I said, I'm in cell biology, so some of my experiences have been working in a molecular biology lab. I've also done work in the Department of Psych, and then also at the Center for Mental Health Research and Recovery. So yeah, just definitely kind of get tapped in with those programs. And Spencer can kind of speak to the differences with his program.
Yeah, so I got started in research my freshman year through a class that Becca mentioned, the like freshman research experience. I think it's through the Honors College. I was also in that, and that's how I got involved with my first research lab. And then also I happened to be walking along the booths at Catapalooza, which is the event we have the first week of like right before classes start, where all the different student organizations and offices on campus have booths. And I walked by this booth that had FYRE, F-Y-R-E written on it, and I was kind of like, what is that? And that stands for First Year Research Experience. And so it was like a once a week class that I took with a couple other freshmen where we kind of learned, right, how does like academic research on a college campus work? Just because I had never really heard of it before. And I was kind of like, well, it seems neat, but I don't know exactly what it is or how to get involved. So I learned how to write a grant, how to approach a professor, kind of all that jazz. My freshman year, I was involved in a lab in the ecology department, actually, not anything to do with chemical engineering. We looked at where plants got their water from on an elevation gradient, and our group got a grant to go to the Galapagos, which was pretty cool. My sophomore year, I was like, I'm going to try something different. So I ended up helping start the food product development lab. So we helped turn Montana grown lentils into a wheat thin alternative cracker. So for any of y'all that have like celiac disease and can't process gluten, maybe in a couple years, you might be able to see some of our crackers that we made. I thought they were not too bad. So that was fun. It involved a lot of food chemistry, but also just walking around campus with a plate of crackers, being like, yo, will you try this out and like let me know if you like it? So it was a fun process. I haven't done any like formal research in terms of outside of the classroom my junior or senior year, but I have been involved in my engineering specific coursework research, which is more along the lines of our design projects for our junior and senior capstones. And all the different majors will be able to get involved in some kind of research, whether it's through your own independent study or your curriculum. And so I'm sure we could talk about that as well.
Awesome. So moving forward, I did want to put out a little plug to keep checking your chat feeds because our counselors are continually answering your one-on-one questions, even if we're not addressing them live here. So always make sure to continually check your chat feed. And we are linking out to some different pages too, so you can look at some of that stuff and follow up with us if you have any additional questions after checking out those pages too. Moving into the next question, I'm going to have Megan answer. If you had a car on campus, or if not, are you allowed to have a car as a freshman, and what does that look like?
So my freshman year, I did not have a car. I didn't find it to be a problem. I still made it to Bridger Bowl every single weekend to go skiing. I either found friends who had a car, or we have something called the Streamline bus service, and it's a free bus. It goes all over town as well as up to Bridger Bowl on the weekends for skiing. So I never had an issue not having a car freshman year. You are able to have a car freshman year if you would like. You just have to buy a parking pass for the parking lots around the residence halls. Those kind of range in price depending on how close to campus you are. The further away from campus you get, the cheaper they are. But even so, the close ones are not unreasonable for a whole year. Yeah, now I live off campus and I have a car that I use to go to my job and things like that. But I live close to campus, so I walk or I take the Streamline bus again. When it's cold out, a lot of people ride their bike and walk. Bozeman's a very biker-friendly, walker-friendly town. Everything is pretty close together. So it's definitely not a necessity to have a car. It is nice, but you definitely make it work.
I just wanted to hop in with one of the cool new things that I got to help kind of create on campus. So if like for some reason, like one of the closer parking passes is just out of your reach financially, we do have a campus shuttle that'll take you from the more farther out parking lots and bring you into the center of campus. I think that cycle is 20 minutes, so it runs pretty quick throughout the school day. So if for some reason you're like, that's not going to work for me, but the F parking pass, or maybe it's like the football lot, I think we changed them to animals or different symbols now. But if that's your situation, you don't have to like walk in, and if it's like dumping snow, there's a shuttle that can bring you back in. So I think that's a cool new thing we've added in the last year or so.
Awesome. Thanks, Spencer. And I'm actually going to make you keep talking. We have gotten a lot of chats about the MSU College of Engineering, your experience in engineering, and kind of the pros of being at MSU because engineering is so competitive these days.
Yeah, so to start, I am an engineering student. I am a senior. I have a social life, and I like am happy to be an engineer. So to answer anyone's like questions or quell anyone's fears, like it's really not as bad as people make it out to be. I started out as a civil engineer when I applied to Montana State about a couple weeks, maybe a month or so before classes started. I ended up in Bozeman, happened to meet the chemical and biological engineering department's advisor, and she convinced me to move to her department. So I officially started classes as a biological engineer. I was that for one semester and then ended up being a chemical engineer. So that kind of is another point that I like to talk about first is it might be a little bit hard to choose one specific type at first, but they're all based on the same foundations of math and science. So it's pretty easy to switch among them, especially at the beginning of your academic career. And then kind of talking about now as I reflect kind of at the end of my engineering experience, I've gotten some really great opportunities, whether it's through internships. So I think the College of Engineering at Montana State is really highly regarded out in industry, and you learn that if you represent the Bobcats at an internship. So I think one of the best examples is I had 2 internships with BP. At one of them, which was in Bellingham, Washington, about half of the chemical engineers in my building were from Montana State. So it's pretty cool to have half the people in your building come up to you on that first day and are like, how was the snow at Bridger this past year? So you have like all these great like friends when you start. I also got to travel to Chicago and have like a penthouse apartment on BP's dime, which was pretty neat. And as I kind of spoke about earlier, I have a job in Southern California with a company called Advanced Sterilization Products. So I've had some awesome opportunities. I'm very thankful. It's definitely been about some of the resources that I've been provided from the College of Engineering, as well as just that the program is really highly respected and prepares you for whatever career field you want to go into. So I have nothing but great words to talk about it. I am an ambassador for the College of Engineering, so I've gotten to be a part of a lot of the like programming stuff for the college, and it's just been an awesome experience to be involved with.
All right. We have been getting a lot of questions about the Bozeman area and the town itself. So maybe Becca, do you want to start by talking a little bit about your favorite parts of Bozeman or what ultimately drew you to Bozeman? And then maybe Megan can follow up.
Yeah, so as an in-state student, honestly, I was really itching to leave Montana. I kind of was set on going to Washington, or I was looking at some schools in Pennsylvania. I was like, I want to leave home. Like, I am sick of Montana and the snow and the cold and all that. And then I went to an MSU Fridays, and I just realized that Montana State was going to be able to offer me a lot of different things. And I think what I love most about Bozeman, that I was kind of worried about at the beginning, is how different it is from my hometown. I love that there's always something going on, whether that be like outdoor oriented, or another part that I love about Bozeman is there's so many like awesome restaurants to go to, so many awesome like cultural events and like arts events. So you can go like listen to the opera during the week and then go hiking at Sykes Canyon on Saturday. And I just kind of love that dynamic because I have a lot of varied interests. So it's nice that there's always something going on, whether it's on campus or off campus. And like Megan and Spencer said, like the summers here are like amazing and beautiful, and being able to do research here in Bozeman for a summer, and being so close to home, I've kind of stayed in Bozeman because there's so much to do. All my friends are here. New restaurants are always popping up and stuff like that. So I've just loved it for all the opportunities. Like I can go see Shakespeare in the park during the summertime, or go to Music on Main, and stuff like that. And I think that's kind of hard to come by, that dynamic of like having a lot of like arts and culture as well as the access to the outdoors.
I second everything Becca said. I love Bozeman so much, the outdoor aspect and the cultural aspect too, because I like to stay busy. I always like having things to do, and so having a variety of options is wonderful. I also love the size of Bozeman. I grew up, as I said, in a suburb of Denver, and so Denver's obviously a big city. I was used to big city life, and then I came up to Montana and I was like, it's so small, but it's actually not super small. I think it's a great size. It's big enough. We do have Target and REI and a movie theater and like a bowling alley. You know, we have normal things, but it's also small enough that you can walk down the street and see people you know all the time. I swear I can't go into a restaurant without seeing somebody I know. And I love that small town feel about it. I love how welcoming everyone is and kind and just passionate about what they're doing, whether they're going mountain biking or going to a cultural event. They're passionate and they're excited. And that's what I love, is the size and the small town side, but also we have an airport, you know, we get both sides of the coin.
Yeah, one huge bummer from this whole coronavirus crisis is you can't come and experience Bozeman, which is unlike any other place that I've been to. Like I touched on some of my experiences that have all taken me away from Bozeman, and you just realize how lucky you are to be back when you are. Um, so I kind of had a little different experience. I also was like, I'm not coming to Montana. And I also grew up with parents that went to the University of Montana, and my dad played football for the Grizz, so going to Bozeman was like a sin. And then I ended up coming here on a tour on a free weekend and just fell in love with it. It's really, you'll kind of find this as your home away from home. It's got everything you could ever want in a small package, so it's not crazy, but you'll always have something to do, kind of like the girls talked about. So it's an awesome place. Whenever this whole mess gets cleared up, like please come visit. It is a unlike any other place that I've been to, and I'm so thankful to have been here for 4 years.
You guys can tell why we hired him, right? All right, I'm going to throw this next question at Megan. Do we have study abroad at MSU? What is that like? And what was your experience studying abroad?
We do have study abroad, and I absolutely love it. I studied abroad, and I probably talk about it too much, but I studied abroad the second semester of my sophomore year. And being an education major, I went to Finland because it has a really world-renowned education system. And I had an incredible experience. I went for a whole semester, but we do offer programs for a spring break, for a couple weeks, for a summer program, for a semester, for a whole year. There's a lot of options for our study abroad program, so you don't have to go for a whole semester if you don't want to. That was just what I did. And it also, there's so many countries to choose from. It's amazing that depending on what you're studying or what you're passionate about with like culture, what you want to experience, there's definitely options. And I think there's something over 250 locations you can go to. They also work with any major, so it doesn't matter if you're an engineer or an education major, you can go, you can experience that. And I highly recommend it for everyone. Studying abroad, even for a couple weeks, is such a not life-changing, because that sounds, but it definitely is a wonderful experience. I learned so much from it. And I actually have the opportunity this fall with my student teaching. I'm hopefully going to be studying abroad a second time, and I'll be going to Japan for 5 weeks to teach English, hopefully, if everything works out accordingly. But I cannot stop talking about study abroad. I love it. I love traveling. I think everybody should do it. Scholarships apply. You can work it out financially. I think if you have a passion for it, do it. Find a way to make it happen.
All right, our second to last question here. Becca, can you talk a little bit about some of the class sizes and availability to professors and whatnot?
Yeah, definitely. So as a cell bio major, I have a lot of peers that are like in pre-med, and then a lot of just my general classes that I had to take. A lot of like engineering students took, as well as students like in education, kind of those 100 level classes. So starting out, you're going to have a couple of those larger lecture hall classes. So things like general chemistry, physics, your math classes are always going to be capped out at like 30 students, which is really nice. So your professors are very accessible with math, just because they understand that it may be a hard topic for some people. But what I love about having those larger lectures is that you'll always have either a lab or recitation paired with that in a smaller setting. So being a bio major, I've had like an excessive amount of labs. And as I've gotten like further in my academic career, my lab sizes and my class sizes have really boiled down to like 15 students pretty much. Like my largest class this semester is 35 students in a lab class. So while you may have those larger lecture hall classes, those are about 300 students. Our largest lecture hall can only hold 300. And I really didn't find it difficult to connect with the professor. They're very open. They're all required to have office hours. It's just a matter of you being willing to ask them those questions in class, ask them to meet with you on a one-on-one basis, emailing them on a regular basis to get extra help when you need it. But honestly, as you move forward, you'll definitely see that the class sizes will get smaller and more intimate. And it's nice too, because In most academic majors, as you move forward, you're going to have friends that you've had in previous classes, and be able to study with them, get extra help from your peers.
All right, and for our last question of the evening, Spencer's probably going to laugh at me because this is my favorite question. We got asked this question at an MSU Friday, and it's the way that I make them end every single student panel. What has been your biggest challenge at MSU, and what has been your biggest win? Why don't we have all three of you answer that to end the evening? Spencer, do you mind starting?
I guess, Shannon. So I think mine is pretty general in terms of the challenge that I faced. I love my parents to death, but they definitely babied me a little bit. And so coming to college and having to figure out how do I do laundry and how do I like plan my schedule accordingly, that was pretty tough. As well as I think coming in the College of Engineering, I think sometimes you can have a little bit of that imposter syndrome, where it's like all these people are super smart, and how am I ever going to be able to compete with them and like learn some of this stuff? I remember sitting in my 100 level chemical engineering class, and the seniors came and presented their capstone projects to us. And I was like, I will never learn any of that stuff. Like, get me out of here. I am not in the right room. And then, flash forward 4 years later, and I'm presenting to the freshmen, and I'm like, where did this time go? And I think kind of that ties into my greatest success is that I did figure it out. I kind of found my place. I've made so many great connections within my department and with the professors that I've had. And it's ended up working out for me, getting some awesome experiences as an engineer. And so I think college is a neat time where you kind of get that like right in between being a child and an adult. And it's a time you should definitely take to savor and learn about yourself. So yeah, it's been a wild ride for sure.
Awesome. Megan, do you want to go? And then Becca, do you want to end it?
Yeah, so my biggest challenge was finding a major. As I said, I started out as pre-med. I thought I wanted to be a doctor. And as I was in those classes, I was enjoying them and I enjoyed the challenge of them, but I wasn't passionate about it. I didn't love it. And then someone finally sat me down and they're like, what did you want to be when you were a little kid? And I was like, I wanted to be a teacher. And they're like, why are you not studying to be a teacher? And so for me, my hardest challenge was coming to terms with that and being like, okay, yes, this is just what I need to do. And finding that passion in my life, because obviously it was a pretty big switch in classes and the type of classes I was going to be taking. So that was my biggest challenge, was really figuring out what I wanted to do right out of high school, because that's a hard thing to do. But now that I have figured it out, I absolutely love it. And I'm very passionate about teaching and I'm very excited to do it. And I definitely know this is where I'm meant to be now. My biggest success would probably be figuring out what I'm passionate about. So kind of along with teaching, but also in other aspects of my life, I have found organizations that I absolutely love. I've connected with people on a level that I never would have thought, with how we want to help others or how we want to impact our community, and the leadership experience I've received. So that's my biggest win, is finding those clubs and those people that share a common something between each other, whether it's in my sorority or in a club on campus or in the admissions office. I found that I absolutely love talking about Montana State and Bozeman. It's one of my favorite things to do. And so that was my biggest win, is figuring out what I'm passionate about, whether it's my major or other fun things I like to do.
For me, definitely my biggest challenge was the transition of like academic rigor from high school to college. I remember my first semester, I took A&P and I actually ended up failing it. But now I'm out like 3 years later after that experience. And I kind of reflect on it and kind of reflect on how that changed the trajectory of like how I studied and like how I was getting tutoring options and like talking to my professors and things like that. And while that was like a huge challenge to overcome and it felt like a huge defeat, I look back on it now, and I think honestly, I wouldn't be the same person if that hadn't happened. And it just taught me too, like that I love sharing all the resources that we have at MSU and connecting with people in terms of academics and talking to them about their classes, what they're passionate about, and just like being on that same level with your peers and them also thinking that it's hard and difficult, but kind of getting through it together. And then for me, I'd say biggest win is probably just like growing as an individual. At MSU, I've really just cultivated my own experience in terms of the clubs I decided to join, the jobs that I decided to take, the ways I decided to get involved. And I've just loved like kind of being able to build my own experience at MSU and having the liberty to do that. So yeah, I think biggest win is just like learning more about myself, like how I'm going to operate most successfully and how I'm going to succeed in what I want to do in life. And MSU has really provided me with the tools that I need moving forward, like to pursue a PhD someday and all that good stuff.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. I want to give a shout out to all of our students, Spencer, Megan, Becca. Thank you all so much. We miss you so much on campus, and we at least get to see your faces tonight, so we so appreciate it. We are going to stick around for a few minutes and try to finish up some of those last minute chat questions. Thank you guys so much for tuning in this evening. If you have additional questions, please feel free to tune in to our senior presentations, our junior presentations, or schedule a one-on-one visit with us. We also hope that a lot of you, if you're seniors and you're making your last minute decision, please feel free to email us, and we hope that we can answer any of those last minute questions for you too. Thank you so much, you guys. We appreciate it, and go Cats.